then I promise you, I won't turn into a supervillain and try to kill you.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, Jacob Batalon, who plays Ned, Peter Parker's best friend in the MCU, might not be Peter Parker's best friend for long. New reports state that he is going to return in the new Spider-Man trilogy, Spider-Man 4, 5, and 6, as Hobgoblin, and will even have connections to the multiverse. Now, Jacob Batalon has actually been teasing Hobgoblin. He's done it a few times, but one main time was where he posted a picture to his Instagram of him holding a Hobgoblin action figure. And back in 2022, in an interview with Esquire, they straight up asked him about the rumors of him possibly playing Hobgoblin and just playing villains in general, in which he replied, I'd love to. And then he actually teased that it's already set up for him to play villainous characters. In the interview, he said this: "I feel like as an actor, when I was in drama school, I really gravitated more towards really dark, dramatic things, as opposed to comedy and things of like that nature. But I found, playing Ned and Reginald, it has sort of given me this light where I wasn't seeing things so negatively and I wasn't thinking so deeply or darkly about things. It's a very light presence, and it's been a very positive effect in my life. So I feel like I'm looking forward to doing a lot of other things, which, people may not see me doing right now. But yeah, those things are in the works for sure." So basically, he just confirmed that villainous roles are in the works already for him. And we have this new report today coming from Holyfield News, which states, Jacob Batalon will return to the MCU in the new Spider-Man trilogy as Hobgoblin and will have connections to the multiverse. It was previously teased in Spider-Man No Way Home that Ned Leeds will eventually become a supervillain that targets Spider-Man. Now, there's two things here on top of Ned becoming Hobgoblin. One is the multiverse connection, and the other is the tease that he'll be a villain. So let's start with the multiverse connection. Some might be confused about a connection with Hobgoblin and Ned, Peter Parker's best friend, to the multiverse. Well, there are 2 points here that I'd like to make. One is that he can obviously use a sling ring now. Now, a lot of people think that a sling ring can't actually open a portal to the multiverse, but let's not forget what was established in the first Doctor Strange movie. When Doctor Strange is at the Carmitage and he's trying to learn spells and they first introduce the sling ring, Mordo states this: "Mastery of the sling ring is essential to the mystic arts. They allow us to travel throughout the multiverse." He specifically said multiverse. Now, what is interesting is that this is a concept that the MCU has seemingly rather avoided, or maybe has given up on, or maybe they just chose not to really address this in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, where the Scarlet Witch was trying to kidnap a teenager so she could use her to travel throughout the multiverse and then kill her so nobody else could travel throughout the multiverse. One would think that since this was established in the very first Doctor Strange film that the sling ring can travel throughout the multiverse, she could just try to get a sling ring and not try to murder a kid. So who knows what was going on there, but we could probably guess that this is going to come back into play as we get further on into the multiverse saga. We'll definitely dive further into this in Doctor Strange 3 because the multiverse and multiverse travel is going to be a big part of that movie. That movie will introduce the Black Priests who travel throughout the multiverse trying to stop incursions. And let's not forget, Sony wanted Spider-Man 4, the next Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland and apparently Jacob Batalon. We were actually unsure if he was going to return. This new report says he is, as the villain. But let's remember that Sony wanted this film to be a big multiverse film, a bigger film than Spider-Man No Way Home, which is quite a pretty big feat there to take on. They basically wanted to double down on what they did in Spider-Man Home and just add a lot more villains and bring back Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. However, Marvel Studios did not want that. They wanted this next film to be a more grounded film, which is basically what the ending of Spider-Man No Way Home set up. But based off of everything that we've heard, it looks like Marvel and Sony came to a pretty decent agreement where they both kind of get what they want. It sounds like most of the movie is going to be pretty level, pretty grounded. However, there is going to be some pretty big multiversal aspects involved with the film, and that's where Hobgoblin's connection to the multiverse could come into play, especially since he has that sling ring. But why would he turn bad? That's kind of the biggest question right now. Why would Ned, who has been Spider-Man's best friend, his number one throughout the entire Homecoming trilogy, why would he turn on Peter Parker? Especially after in Spider-Man No Way Home, he promised Peter that he wouldn't turn into a supervillain and try to kill him, something I genuinely believe that he meant. So it makes me believe that they are going to go a rather comic accurate route with Ned, even though they kind of haven't so far. In the comics, Peter Parker and Ned both work at the Daily Bugle, and actually the two of them competed for Betty Brant. They both liked Betty, who Ned did date for a little bit in Spider-Man Far From Home. But eventually Peter Parker backs out, realizing that Betty wouldn't really accept the fact that he's Spider-Man. So long story short, Ned gets Betty, they end up getting married. And Ned doesn't necessarily just turn evil and then attack Peter Parker, he's actually brainwashed. Ned sees Spider-Man fighting the actual Hobgoblin, so Ned follows the Hobgoblin to his hideout. Unfortunately, Hobgoblin would discover that Ned was there, so he captures him and he brainwashes him. And he basically turns him into a Hobgoblin, not the Hobgoblin, but a Hobgoblin, basically as a scapegoat to use in case the Hobgoblin is ever unmasked. And what's also very interesting is that in the comics, Ned's Hobgoblin was also revealed to be a sorcerer, and he trained under Baron Mordo, specifically in the art of reality-altering chaos magic. So when we think about who could possibly hypnotize Ned in Spider-Man 4, they could go the comic accurate route where the real Hobgoblin captures him and brainwashes him, which I think would be rather interesting, except for the fact that Ned is supposed to be off at college. But if for some reason he stays there in New York and starts working for the Daily Bugle, that could be a really cool story because, again, he doesn't know who Peter Parker is. He just knows that there's a Spider-Man now due to Doctor Strange's spell. So he could work at the Daily Bugle trying to track Spider-Man down. Meanwhile, Peter Parker knows that Ned is tracking him and this is his old best friend. I actually think that would be a really cool storyline because it would give us kind of some deep moments for Peter Parker, probably also some funny moments as well. Like he's watching his former best friend who knew that he was Spider-Man try to track him down and figure out who he is under the mask. I actually think that would be pretty funny. And of course it would be hard for him at some points as well because it's sad. Ned no longer knows who Peter Parker is. So that's one way they could take it, but another way that they could take it is they could actually bring Baron Mordo back. They might still have plans for him, and if he still is out there trying to get rid of sorcerers, perhaps he finds Ned, but instead of killing him, he realizes that he has a connection to Doctor Strange and Spider-Man. So instead, he brainwashes him or puts him under some sort of a spell, makes him become Hobgoblin to get Spider-Man and to get Doctor Strange. That would also be a pretty cool thing to do as well in the MCU. And I think these two options make the most sense. Now, obviously, he no longer knows who Peter Parker is, so the best friend thing doesn't exactly matter anymore. He doesn't know a Peter Parker anymore, and he definitely doesn't know who Spider-Man is under the mask, so perhaps he just develops a hatred for Spider-Man. Perhaps he tries to develop powers of his own. Perhaps he even goes out there and tries to start fighting some crime. But Spider-Man, Peter Parker, who of course knows him, keeps intervening. Maybe Peter doesn't actually want Ned to be out there in harm's way, so Peter keeps getting in the way as Spider-Man. This could lead to Ned really not liking Spider-Man. Plus, if he does go on to work at the Daily Bugle, then J. Jonah Jameson is going to be all up in his head convincing everybody that Spider-Man is indeed a villain. So perhaps Ned takes it on himself to become Hobgoblin and go out and fight Spider-Man. We do know that Kingpin is going to be getting a task force to go out there and get the masked vigilantes, and we know that it's going to actually include some masked vigilantes as well, but working for him, so you know, it's cool to him. Perhaps Ned takes this opportunity to kind of work for Kingpin to go and get Spider-Man, and he just simply creates the Hobgoblin as to not reveal his true identity. Definitely a lot of options for this, but go ahead and let me know what you think. Would you like this? Would you like for Ned to become Hobgoblin in Spider-Man 4 and be a villain of the movie? Or would you not like to see them go that route? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you can stay up to date on Spider-Man and of course the MCU. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.